Hi everyone, it's time for another issue of Build the Millennium Falcon. This week we've got issue number 30. Basically it looks like we've got a lot more framework and plating work to do still. Well, as you can tell from that, there's still quite a lot to do. But we've got some more of the support jig. So I'm going to do a little video just on putting this lot together. It looks like a fairly simple one. I'm also, in the next few videos, I'm going to start showing you what I'm going to do with the whole plating. I've decided to light block it because I may put some additional lighting in, not just what comes with the kit. I might put some additional landing lights in, so we'll see. Maybe some little flashing LEDs, you know, fibre optics up onto the cockpit, that sort of stuff. So I don't think I'm going to build this as it comes. I'm going to modify it a bit, so I'll show you the bits and pieces involved if you want to do any mods to it. So that's it for now. I'm going to go and take this to the little workshop and get it open, and we'll see what we're doing today. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do some more framework today. A bit more framework and plating. Now I'm going to do this the other way around. Basically it starts with the framework, but I think I'm just going to get this bit done and out of the way. It's just another piece of the assembly jig which is going to support the model as it starts to build up. Now it's starting to get quite heavy, so I'm just going to put the little feet on, which obviously go in the little two indentations. You'll have seen those before, so I'm just going to go and do that, pop it on with the rest of the jig, and then I'm going to bring the assembly out here, and we'll start getting these extra bits and pieces on. If you haven't got to this bit yet on your build, basically I'm just putting another segment in for the assembly jig. Now they're basically keyed in such a way that they will only fit in the right area. So that, for example, you can see clearly can't fit on that one because the dovetails are just completely wrong. So it's going to be that one there, and you have a little bit of persuasion. Normally go on fairly easily one-handed because of the camera, but there you go. So that's that one in. I've just got the one more to come. Now I happen to know that's on issue 31, which I've already bought, but I haven't unwrapped it yet. This is all for the video for number 30, and then we'll have our finished jig. You can see here this big flat area. This is obviously going to be for the support for the engine block at the back underneath. There's a large area that comes down there. So yes, jig's nearly complete. So I'm just going to grab our assembly here that we've got so far, and I'm going to, you can see my new house. I'm going out to the shed. This is where I've got my little workshop, and we're going to just carry on like we have been. We'll get these other bits of framework in, so I'll get myself set up and come back and show you when there's something interesting to see. Okay, so that was frame 35, which has just gone in here. 34 is the next piece to go in, which I think is going to fit like so. So we're just building them out. There's another rib to make up. Now, in case you missed it on the last episode, this screwdriver is pretty well had it now. The end is no good now for tightening the screws. But what I'm doing is I'm using this, because it's magnetic, to pick the screws up, like so. And I'm excuse me, my voice is going. I'm using this to start the screw, but before you come to tighten, if you've got this problem as well, I've got a second driver which is a far better fit and a far better quality driver. So I'm just using the magnetic one to get it into the fiddly stuff and to get it started, and using a decent driver to tighten it up. So that's that. I'll come back when that next piece is on. Okay, that's frame 34 in place. Now from an earlier issue we've got frame 33, and guess where that's going? That's going right there. So we'll have another whole slice of cake done, if you like, if you want to imagine these as little slices of cake. Anyway, right, I'm going to get that on with that, and back in a moment. Hopefully this is a useful little tip, something I've just noticed. When you're putting the ribs together, I popped the first screw in there and I tightened it all the way up, no problem. When you go to put the second screw in, it doesn't always line up, doesn't always fit properly. So a little tip is, when you get to this point, pop the screws in, put the pieces together, pop the screws in, and start to tighten, but don't tighten them all the way. Just do them, you know, a few turns until they're all together, and then tighten them all up together. And what I tend to do is, for example, I'll put, I don't know if I can do this with my left hand when I'm still holding the camera, but we'll try. And there we go, so that's gone in. But basically what I'm going to try and do, let me just see if I can hold this with the other hand. Need to get my my little pin vise out really. But basically the idea is get the screws in but don't tighten them, and then tighten them all together. And what I tend to do is a bit like you do the wheel nuts on a car, you know, I go outside, you know, outside, and then the two inside ones. Don't go along from one direction, otherwise if it is out, it'll pull up, it won't pull up squarely. So do the two outside ones and the two inside ones, like on a car. You do top left, bottom right, top right, bottom left. So you do it like that, and then it pulls together nice and squarely, and you don't get something that isn't quite, you know, and like a wheel would wobble, and you could get the effect where that isn't quite pulling up right, and people might have to force the screws on one hole because the others aren't quite lined up. So just a little tip, so just pop them all in, make sure they're all happy before you tighten them, and hopefully the end result is you should get a rib that's nicely lined up, all the screws are equally tight, and it's not distorted it in any way. So that's going to, at a wild guess, go here. So I'll pop that in next. Another little tip when you're doing this part, you need to make sure that keyed end, I don't know if you can see it properly there, see the little key at the end? That's got to go into a little ridge under here, and if it doesn't, then it will all sit slightly wonky, it won't line up. So that's quite important. Okay, that's what we now have. This is the end of issue 30. So we've effectively just put this last wedge-shaped piece of hull plating in place, which is the underside towards the rear. So it would be the rear. What would it be? The rear left quarter, I guess. Yeah. Yes, because that's where you got the landing pads fit into there. Rear landing pads probably going to be around there somewhere. So yeah, so this is sort of coming around to the engine section at the back. So I'm going to go and pop that on the jig. Now what I have decided to do with the plating, I mentioned earlier I was thinking about painting it. Whoops, sorry, zooming in when I should have been zooming out. So what I've decided to do, because I'm going to add lighting to this at some point, and the light blocking isn't great. I'm still deliberating whether to paint the outside of the hull. Obviously it needs, you know, weathering, colouring, distorting, all that sort of stuff, but whether the base coat needs replacing or not I'm not sure, because it's relatively the right colour. But I have decided definitely to light block it on the inside, and what I'm proposing at the moment is I'm going to mask all the top sections off so that we don't get overspray on those, and I'm going to first prime the underside, and then I think I'm going to paint the inside silver. There's a variety of ways of doing light blocking. You can do a layer of primer, a layer of black, and then a layer of silver, which I've done before, or that's for blocking the light, so all the light is just going to reflect back inside. Or if you're doing like a ship like the Enterprise with hundreds and hundreds of windows, what I tend to do is drill little holes on the hull, and on the inside prime it, layer of black, and then a layer of white. And then that really makes the whole thing just glow inside and gives you even light distribution throughout the whole hull. So there we go. So that's the plan. So I'm going to mask the outside and protect that to start with, and I'm just going to prime and light block the insides of these. So I'll show you how I'm going to go about that as well. And that's the shot of the hull as it is at the moment, up to the end of issue 30. So we've just got one more piece of the jig to go in, and just over a quarter of the hull to do, and then of the framework to do, and we'll have a whole half of this thing done. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do with painting these panels is mask off the outside of the hull, because I only want to paint the inside at the moment. So I'm going to use some very low tack painter's tape, masking tape, and literally just cover the outside, and that's really most of the prep. Okay, so that's now masked. I forgot to mention, by the way, obviously before you start painting these, the plastic wants to be washed, just some sort of ever so slightly warm water with a little bit of fairy liquid in, or washing powder. It's just to get any mould release off that might be left from when they were actually being manufactured, because the mould release, of course, would the paint would just lift off. So anyway, so I've masked off the outside of this particular piece of hull plating, and what I've done is I've turned, and going around it, I'm turning up the edge of the masking tape, because I want to make sure that no paint gets onto the outside of the hull. So I'm pretty much doing that. You can see, so they're all curved up a bit around it, so the edge is protected as well, and I'm going to try not to paint too low under the edge. I just want it to be on the inside. Okay, so just a couple of coats of ordinary surface primer. I'm using the Tamiya fine surface primer. It's a bit dear, a bit expensive, but it's good. It does a good job. It's nice and fine. Don't get great big clumpy bits everywhere. You get a nice finish to it. So basically a couple of coats of primer, and then I'm going to leave it, and then I'm going to probably do, I'm not sure what I've got here in my paint, but I'm probably going to do a silver. Doesn't look like I've got any, so I'm going to have to go out. But I'm going to do a silver spray, and I have two reasons. One is it's nice and reflective, so it'll help keep the light in and not let it seep through the hull. But secondly, the framework is silver, so if I do the inside silver as well, it'll look quite neat as well. Even on the inside, probably a bit over the top being neat on the inside, but if you're going to paint it, you might as well make it neat. So that's it. I'll show you a bit more once I've got some paint and I've got the final interior colour on. Okay, so I've done the first 4 pieces of hull plating. Couple of coats of grey primer on each for now, but one important thing to mention is probably common sense, but just leave it nice and light. You don't want to be clogging up where you've got the identifying numbers. See, like you got bottom plating BP21, that's bottom plating. Don't put so much paint on that you fill that up, because then you've got to match up the pieces by eye. So yeah, just a light neat coat, that's what you need to do. But if we look at the first one here, I bet already the light blocking is going to be better. There's no light coming through the plastic anymore. That's quite a bright light actually, so yeah, the light's only coming through the tape, which is what we want. Just do another little test on that one. So again, yeah, nothing coming through the hull apart from obviously where the holes are for now. They're going to be mounting holes for further bits and pieces. So yeah, so the plan is to do that with all of the hull plating. I'm just going to do a few bits at a time. I know it's quite a bit to do, but it'll be worth it at the end. Okay, right, so these are the same panels that you saw primed earlier. I've just popped out because I was running out of paint, so I've just got some Humbrol acrylic silver metallic spray. So what we should have here now is something that's highly reflective and, whoops, nearly opposite, and will send the light back to its source rather than let it bleed through. That's the idea. So we shouldn't get anything coming through, it should all get reflected back in. So there we go. I've yet to see how successful my masking was. Hopefully there's no overspray on the outer side of the hull, but we'll see shortly. I'll let these dry and then take the tape off. Okay, that didn't take long for these to dry at all. I think partly because it's an acrylic based paint, which is water based rather, acrylic paint rather than enamel. Dried really quickly on a warm dry day, which is what I've got today, and we have very highly reflective inside surface and no overspray at all on the outside surface, so I'm quite chuffed with that. We'd be quite pleased with that. So yeah, so we're sort of retaining the detail on the outside, but we've got a nice highly reflective surface on the inside. If I hold it up to the light, you can see how well that reflects the light back inside, but lets none of it through. Absolutely none of it comes through the plastic now, which is exactly what we want. Haha, excellent. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to start putting a few of these bits and pieces on the framework, and that'll be it for this video. Again, I hope it's helpful. I'll see you again for issue number 31. Take care.